Mr. Shelton and Miss Nancy Latham. And before we went to break, you were talking about the mortgages. So in closing, what can you tell us, our viewers, about that, other than what you said?
One thing I didn't point out that I think they might find important is all of our services are free.
Okay.
All of our foreclosure intervention services are free to the client. So the sooner you get help, the better chance you have of saving your home.
Okay.
I want to mention something also. She mentioned the initial session, some might consider to be long, but when you consider the fact that you may stand a chance to keep your home, to spend 2 or 3 hours, it's not very long at all.
No, it's not.
If you can find yourself in a rescue mission or somewhere living on the street, spend 2 or 3 hours to keep your home, I think is well worth the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, but I want to thank you for that. And they can reach you at this phone number?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, and again, that's Nancy Latham. Okay, now, Mr. Shelton,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
were going to talk about some of the other services you offered.
Right.
And when we went to break, we talked about you've got a program for senior citizens, youth
Right.
empowerment.
Right.
Okay.
We just started a program probably about 6 months ago, for a senior program for a commodities program for seniors every 30 days to get a few extra commodities, kind of stretch their dollars. Because sometimes people, it's a choice between medicine and food. And we want to put more dollars in their pockets so they can buy the medicine and things that they need. I think you hear quite often about someone who try to balance the act, and then they say, well, I don't have enough money for the medicine, so then I got to buy the food. And sometimes because if you don't take your medicine, I mean, you might have a stroke, you might have a number of different things may happen. A diabetic maybe who may not buy the insulin, they can cause going to diabetic shock or something like that. So we try to put the dollars in people's pocket so they can extend as best we can. Also, we have the youth empowerment rallies. So I think we're on our fifth or sixth year, I can't really remember. But it's a rally where we bring the youth of the community together. We try to give them a positive vision of themselves so they can achieve their goals and not worry so much about what other people think. Because I understand the opinion that matters most is the opinion that you have of yourself. And just because maybe we had some failures in life, it does not mean we're a failure. But then young people have to be willing to step out on their own and realize that they don't necessarily have to be with the crowd. Because sometimes young people will not achieve because their friends may say negative things about them. And so sometimes they try to dumb themselves down. And I tell people all the time, people will never pay you for how dumb you are. It's the value that you bring to the marketplace. If you bring a certain amount of value to the marketplace, then people will pay you. And my dream and hope that people will, to be able to achieve their goals in life. One of my favorite books by Robert Collier was Secret of the Ages. He says give people a glimpse of their higher self, not so much of where they are now, but where they want to go. And then another book by Viktor Frankl's called Logos is the theory of believing there's going to be a better day. And say no matter what today is, you got to have hope for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Right.
And again, with the youth now, I've got grandchildren, I tell them,
Right.
It's one thing to be a follower as long as you choose a good leader.
Right, absolutely.
And I think that the youth of today, all of them have the potential to be good leaders.
Right.
And to empower them and let them know that you believe in them and let them know that there are options available.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, and some of the other programs that you have available are home repair services, the nutrition program, emergency services, and anything else?
Well, we're working with some people in the community to help some of your young people get a better vision of themselves. As we know, there have been an upskill in violence, and a number of young people have been killed. And so some of the community leaders have tried to come together, and we're hoping to design some kind of plan where they have hope. One thing when I often say, if a person doesn't have hope, if they don't care about their life, they won't care about yours. And one thing you want to continue to have people to have hope. We hope to have in the future some additional programs so that we may help them change their direction, their education, and maybe give them opportunities for some employment things in the future.
And I know right now, and of course I'm glad you brought this up as well, right now with the economy and joblessness and everything else, it's hard for people to find hope.
Right.
And, so right now, it's a great opportunity, especially for the youth of today. If you can't get a job, you don't have an excuse not to get an education.
Right.
And so you're there's a group of you that are collaborating to address the violence in Muskegon.
Right, right. One of the leading persons working with me is Ms. Lewis Churchwell from West Michigan Therapy.
He just left his office.
And Paul Billings from 103.7 The Beat, who's been very instrumental in helping us bring some of the young people together. Right. And another thing, a dream I have is to try to grow the agency. And being able to grow the agency, you'll be able to employ more people. We're very fortunate. We got an additional grant for $3.2 million for solar and wind turbines and things of that nature. And so a vast majority of that money will be spent here in this economy. Over and above the, I guess, about $7 million we got initially for the stimulus program for the weatherization. So we've been very fortunate to bring in quite a few dollars into Muskegon to try to help this economy.
Okay. Well, that's great to know that you're going to stimulate the economy. I think once people see that there is something out there that is giving them hope.
Right, right. The Chinese I heard about the other day, they really don't have a word for crisis, but they have a semblance for opportunity. And sometimes we find ourselves in a crisis and we feel like there's no hope. But almost in every crisis, there's an opportunity.
And again, I tell people that, it seems like it's the end of the world, but in the grand scheme of life, let's say you live 70 years, that trauma or tragedy, whatever you're going through, it's like the blink of an eye. But when you're in it, it doesn't feel like that.
Well, then I tell people the fortunate thing about living in Michigan is that we have seasons. And we know that no matter how bad winter becomes, eventually spring will come. Yeah. And we all have our seasons. But it's like taking a snapshot, and sometimes people take a snapshot and they think it will last forever. The snapshot doesn't show the future. All it shows is a point in time. And we got to continue to believe that things will get better if we do the things that are necessary for us to do.
Absolutely. So now has come almost my favorite part of the show.
Okay.
This has been great, by the way, but I'm just in awe of someone that isn't a published author. So tell us a little bit about your book.
The book is Achieving Success Through Adversity. And because I've had my ups and downs in my own life, and I understand that sometimes adversity will short the course of your life, and sometimes people are destroyed by an adversity. But adversity, if you take it in the right direction, it can take you to another level. We all will have them. It's a matter of how we respond to them. I heard a story once told of two young men, and their father was an alcoholic. One young man said that I couldn't help but be an alcoholic because my father was. The other young man said I couldn't be an alcoholic because my father was. Yeah. It's a matter of how you look at it. And we all will have an adversity in our life. All of us will. And none of us will get out of this life. The rain will fall on someone, all of us. It's a matter of how we respond to the adversity of wind and thing that hit us. How do we respond to it? Do we do like the eagle? He said the eagle doesn't go away from the storm. The eagle allows the storm to take it to another level. And the same thing with us. Do we allow our adversities to take us to another level? Mm-hmm. So quite often our adversity, at one point we don't like it, but I wouldn't change anything about my life that I've gone through. Even some things I didn't like very much, but it's helped me become the man that I am today. If it was not for that, I couldn't sit here. I couldn't be the person I am if it had not been for that. Now, would I have avoided it if I could have? I would have. But I know I'm a better person today because of it.
And that's what I like to hear is that, sometimes people sit and, I could have done this different, or right. That hadn't happened in my life. Mm-hmm. But that's what makes us who we are. That's right. What gives you your heart, your compassion for other right. people. Is for whatever adversity, it's giving you the opportunity to be more empathetic to people or sympathetic, whichever it right. needs to be.
Right, gives you more empathy. And I talk about in my book, I talk about the vulture and the hummingbird, and they both fly over the desert. But the only thing the vulture sees is rotting and what's dead and what has been. But the hummingbird looks for flowers and what could be. And so it is with life. Quite often we get from life what we look for, we get in life. And then another story I talk about is, it was Jim and Neil Ham was walking one day in a park, and he thought that it was someone on a bicycle behind him, but it was a lion. And I talk about sometimes how suddenly life will change and life will shift. And then he was in a fight for his life. And sometimes it's like the problems this world will devour us. We got to fight. We just can't lazy fare and just go through life. Sometimes we got to put up a fight. And his wife kept telling him he had to fight. He said, how could I fight? And sometimes the answer is not always obvious. But you got to do something that'll get you through a period of time. Mm-hmm. And what he did, he trained dogs, and he learned if he grabbed the dog's tongue, it would stop him from biting. So for a period of time, he grabbed the lion's tongue to stop the lion from biting him. And even through all that, the lion ripped his scalp off, but he continued to fight. and he told his wife that she needed to take the ink pen and stab the lion. And she kept hitting the lion. She got tired. But then she thought, I'm gonna try one more time. And then she struck the lion one more time, the lion ran away. And so sometimes it is with us. Sometimes when life knocks us down, and sometimes we gotta be able to get up and try one more time.
I think that's awesome. And especially with the line of work that you have a calling for this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's my calling. Yeah.
Because you've got the heart and the soul to do what you're doing, and you can tell that just by what you told us here today.
Yeah, I finally found my vision. I didn't always have it, but I finally found it.
You went through the struggles to find the blessings.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you for all of your help today and your assistance, and again, for what you do. But again, if someone needs help, for instance, with the housing, don't wait until it's too late, and don't believe that there's not help available.
Well, the thing I want to close with is continue to try. Don't take a current situation to think that it is permanent, and look around to try to see where you get some help. One of my favorite books said, "Pride goes before a fall," and there's nothing wrong to look out and put your hand out for help, because there's help there. There's help there to assist you. And if you need help, you need to call 231-725-9499. And thank you, and have a blessed day.